Okay, we're talking about the never ending debate of what is art. I had this in English class once, and it was so much fun because defining art is so difficult because you're not only defining the word, but you're also defining good and bad art. Does that even exist? We're going to talk about all of it today. This is completely just my opinion, but I like my opinion. So, is this art? Do you see this? Is this art? That's the question we're kind of going to be answering in this video. Art. What is it? What is bad art? Is bad art art? Art, the way I would define it, is connection. And that's why there is no good or bad art, the same way there is no pretty and ugly to a certain extent. And you're like, there's no pretty and ugly? That's news to me. I've been on TikTok long enough. I know all of the things about beauty. And there's something to be said about very beautiful faces, which is that boring. Every single interesting face is a little bit flawed. And almost every face is flawed, so it's not an attack on someone who's like, oh, they're too perfect. I don't think that's particularly a compliment because it's not interesting. Perfection is one of the most boring things known to mankind. If there was a face that is perfect, it looks really boring. Like if you just go off of biology, I don't know why I put it like that, symmetry is one of the most attractive things. And youth and, not even youth, but health. I would say it's way more health than youth. But I'm 22, so maybe I changed my mind. You never know. But if you Google, like, oh, what would be the most symmetrical face? It's made by a robot or something. Yes, it's pretty, but it's kind of weird. Even the AI people that have Instagrams are a little bit flawed. The ones that we think are human and that are beautiful. There's something really unsettling about perfection. And it makes sense because it's fake. So, now that we got that out of the way, if you were like, who is the most beautiful person in the world? And you asked 10 people, they would give you different answers. There might be some overlap. Some might say this person, some might say this person. You might have like 3 different answers instead of 10 different answers, but you're not going to have the same thing. And they're not always going to have a lot of similarities. Because what one person likes, when another person doesn't like. It's even interesting because there's not even a formula. Some people really like the comfort of the culture they grew up in and the people that look like them. Some people love a completely opposite culture because maybe they don't even feel at home in their own culture. Like, there's so many variables that you don't know, and that's just beauty. So art is connection. It is finding a type. So there is no really bad art. There's just lying art. There's a saying, whoever you are, you'll find somebody. Well, this is not a saying, but I'm saying it. Whoever you are, you'll find somebody, but if you're not yourself, who you find is gonna be kind of awful. And I think some people have a very strict type. I'm using this parallel because it's an easy example, but for the most part, most people have multiple interests, multiple foods they like, multiple shows they like, multiple types of faces they found attractive, and so on and so forth. And it's the same with art. Think of your 5 favorite artists, singing wise. Are they very similar? I love Taylor Swift, I love Beyonce, I love Sabrina Carpenter, I love Michael Jackson, and I don't remember a 4th one at the top of my head. Oh, and Mariah Carey. There we go. They're not similar by any means. Not even Beyonce and Mariah. I mean, more similar than the others maybe, but they're not doing the same thing by any means. It's a completely different voice. It's a completely different way of using the voice. But because it is such an authentic and well done, but authentic way of doing things, I like it. Because the same way, you're not only happy, you're not only sad, depressed, angry. There's different negative and positive emotions. There's different ways to connect to somebody. You can talk to somebody and complain and feel connected. You can talk to somebody about a vision and feel connected. And that's the point of art. But if you lie, people can tell. People can tell. And even in YouTube videos, there was someone who did a YouTube video about not Sabrina Carpenter, about something that the wizard Liz, not about her, but a topic that the wizard Liz would usually do. And at first I thought I was weird because they had the same tone, they had the same way of speaking, almost the same hairstyle, and it was so similar that I was like, are you like related? Is this what happened? Like, it just is a little too similar to make sense. And I was like, this is probably only me. And then I look at the comments and everyone's agreeing. And it's not to be like, oh, this girl can never make it. It's to say, hey, people can tell. And I don't know this girl. I wouldn't know her in a lineup because she's a complete stranger to me. I've watched 1 or 2 videos, like the beginning parts of it. But even I can tell it's not authentic. People cannot always tell what your authentic self is. Like, if you present yourself on the internet and you're like, tell me who I am, the internet's probably gonna be like, what the fuck? We don't know you. How are we supposed to tell you who you are? This is your job. But people can tell when it's inauthentic. People don't always know the truth, but they can tell a lie. They can pick up on when something's inauthentic. The same way, you might not know Paris, but you do know London is not Paris. If I show you a picture of London, you know what I mean? There's the skill to get somewhere, and then there's the skill of knowing, hey, that's not the place, and hey, no, that's not the place, is something I think almost everyone can tell. And it feels weird. And it doesn't always show up in like, oh, well, they're copying this person and I can tell them blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it just shows up in, I don't know, something's off. The vibe is off. It just feels uncomfortable. Like, the feeling stuff, that is inauthenticity. And sometimes you just baseline don't get along with somebody. There's a point to be made about that. But sometimes it's because one person's pretending to be somebody they're not. And it's also so difficult because you're like, who the fuck am I? Sometimes I'm really mad and I feel like I'm the worst person on earth. And then I'm kind to one stranger and I'm like, I'm Mother Teresa. So who am I? That is a good question. And that is a question that gets to change its answer. Check out my poetry book. It's called In a World of Answers, I'd Like to Be the Question. In a world that tells you what to think, all I want to do is make you think. Which is so true, and I do think it helps quite a bit with self-discovery because of the nature of when I wrote it. I didn't write it with that intention, but it did end up doing that. But that gets to change. You don't have to be the same person every year, even. But you do have to be the same person every day. Like, you can't yesterday be like, woohoo, I don't know, I can't think of a normal answer to that. I am very thoughtful, and the next day you're like, you know what, fuck you. Like, you do need a little bit of a through line, and I think what helps is having things that stay the same so that other things can change. Your style maybe is going to change, your way of communicating is going to change, the things you're learning are going to change because you've at some point hopefully have learned the things you're learning, but your core things might not. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Do one of these personality tests just to kind of get a good understanding of who you are. Because art essentially is an observer observing something. But if you don't know who the observer is, aka you are just observing the thing, and the thing is objective by nature, especially emotions. There is an amount of identity you do need through art. And you know what art does? What art does marvelously, which nothing else does because it's not particularly good, is you can be the bad guy. If I was gonna recommend anything, I would cast yourself as the bad guy once or twice in your art. It doesn't have to be like a direct hate novel about your personality, but if you write poems or in an art piece, you have to know for your art form how you can do that. But because I think it lifts the pressure which the internet has, that it's like, I know everything, I'm always right, I am the most healed, enlightened Buddhist on earth, while also being accepting. And it's like, are you? I don't know about you, but I'm not. I mean, I try my best, but my best is not always that awesome. But if you can kind of tap into the darker sides of your personality, into the things you're not so good at, or you may be a little bit impulsive, are you maybe the not so great person to date, tap into that. Because most people have dated someone that's not great to date, and so getting the insight of the other person's perspective is, I think, quite interesting. As well as it's more honest. It's also, I think, the only place still left where you get to be the bad guy without feeling like the bad person. And I think it's good. Look, I love the saying. You can either be wrong for 5 minutes. For example, you ask a question, you look stupid, you go for the thing, whatever, or you can be wrong for a lifetime. And casting yourself as the bad guy gives you a good understanding of why you do what you do. Because you're going to be the bad guy in something. You're going to be bad at something. Maybe it's not love, maybe it's not relationships, maybe it's, I don't know, work. Are you like horrible at work? Whatever, you know what you're horrible at, but art gives you the freedom to explore being bad at something and acknowledging that. Because this is not the purpose of it, but it's a nice side effect, is that you will find that if you are aware of something, you pick up on it more. And when you pick up on it more, you change it easier. And if you change something easier, it's gone. Like, the worst personality traits you could have are the ones you don't even know you have. That is my very strong belief. Okay, so we're wrapping this up. Connection, honesty, that is art. And that's difficult. That's why people don't want to do it. It's much more difficult than it's like Formula A, Formula B, Formula C, let's go. That would be so much easier. But it's not that way. It's honest and it's embarrassing and it doesn't always make you look the best. But I think that's the reason it sticks around for so long. Because we have technology, we have AI, we have so many things that have evolved and been outsourced and machines can do. But the awfulness of your own nature, no, that cannot be outsourced. You have to produce that yourself. No, I'm joking, but I hope you understood what I meant. Check out everything in the description. My book, my poetry book, my guided journal, my fiction book, everything's down below. My Spotify, I have a podcast every week, and all of that stuff. And your homework for today, which is, we always do the homework. If you want to share it with me, you tag me on TikTok, which is also linked below. And I will stitch it in React, is to list the times when you were the bad guy. Not the bad person, okay? Because I'm not a priest and I cannot forgive your sins. No, I'm joking, but I'm not, so this is not maybe information you want to share on the internet. But the times you were the bad guy. The times where you're like, I could have communicated better, I could have tried for this project better, I could have showed up on time to work, I could have given that opportunity to someone more, whatever. The things you regret that are absolutely your fault. Good luck. And I'm so proud of you. A round of applause for you for being here and having done 6 whole videos, 6 whole weeks, putting in the work. I'm so proud of you and I'm excited to hear about all of it.